Hey everybody, it's Mari, Marisol, Marisol, whichever you know me as. I go by them all. Um, I want to thank you for coming. If you're new, welcome. I hope you enjoy the channel. Right now it's kind of bare bones, right? And I don't have any real skills as a video editor. I'm kind of learning as I go. So it's a work in progress, just like I am. What do you do? Anyway, a couple things before I get started. I wanted to tell you, yes, I am learning video editing. And last week, as you saw, I had a thumbnail, I had an intro and an outro. I was really excited. This week, I was really excited that I could add B-roll to my video and make that a little more visually appealing. For whatever reason, this week, YouTube isn't accepting that upload. So with the same intro and outro, with the same thumbnail, the only difference was the video. It keeps saying upload discontinued. It doesn't say why though. I have to research that. I have to figure out what's going on with that. So no intro, outro, no thumbnail this week. I'm sorry. I'm working on it. Um, and then also in the interest of full disclosure and being transparent with you guys, it came up on Facebook and I thought I would address it completely. No, I am not a full-blown paranormal investigator. I would like to be one day, but right now I'm not. So I can tell you that I would consider myself at the very least an enthusiast and maybe at best an amateur. I don't have any of the equipment. I'm not set up for any of it yet. That's wildly expensive and I'm broke. So I don't do that. I can tell you that I've been on I've been doing this since I was a teenager. So I've been on countless locations that have been known to be haunted. And you can find them everywhere you go. So anytime I go on any kind of vacation, I look it up and I go. It's fun for me. That's my stress relief. So um I have been on just as many haunted tours. Again, they're everywhere. You can look them up for whenever you go on vacation and you can just go. Some of them do require a fee, some of them don't. Some of them are just donation based. Um, and yes, I've been on quite a number of paranormal investigations themselves, the type where we have access to the building all our own. And we're just the only ones in the building. We're not on a tour. We don't have other people roaming around. It's just us. And we set up our equipment and we go around and we hunt. That's what we do. So, but I cannot claim to be a full-blown investigator. I'm not in any way, shape, or form ready to take on that kind of responsibility. I don't even have the equipment for it. So that's where I stand with the paranormal officially. At best, I'm a amateur, and at worst, I'm an enthusiast. So let's get on with the show. I am talking tonight about energy healing in the paranormal and finding that balance. So, energy practices can help individuals manage stress and anxiety while engaging in paranormal investigations. And the techniques that I'm going to describe here can also be used in regular life. And I use them in regular life because I have anxiety and stress. So it's just part of my everyday life that I have to manage, like anybody else. So, paranormal, especially ghosts, can leave behind energies that can really mess with you. And not all of them are what you think they are. So, residual energies, for instance, um, that's it's trapped emotions, usually, is what it is. Residual energies. Something significant happened on that location, and that scene or that feeling is being replayed over and over and over, like it's on a loop, an audio loop, and it just goes over and over and over again. Um, Usually brought on by feelings like anger, sadness, and fear. Although all things being equal, I'm sure that there are incidences that are joyful. We just never hear about them because it's more interesting or more exciting to hear about the bad stuff, right? They can or cannot have negative entities or disembodied spirits associated with it. Some of them do, some of them don't. You just don't ever know. You can attach. The problem with these residual energies is they can attach themselves to you very quickly, and they can appear to be paranormal. So, if they look paranormal, it's because they're projecting the ghosts, the apparitions, they're moving things, they're making noises, they're mimicking poltergeist activity, any of that. But more importantly, residuals can cling to you. It's like static that's on you, and they just cling to you. And then you can go home with them. And the problem with them going home is then they usually get a little bit stronger, and sometimes, especially if they're negative, they can get strong. They can get a little more scary. So, but please remember that not all energy in the paranormal is bad. Some cases, it might just mean that there's a loved one trying to communicate with somebody and get a message across. So please be aware that if we are indeed dealing with the dead, and I keep hammering it at home to everybody, we don't know what we're dealing with yet. We're assuming it's the dead. If we are dealing with the dead, be respectful of that, because they were people and they deserve our respect. So, energy healing basics 101. Let me get into some of this. So there are quite a few ways to do this. I'm only going to mention 3 because of time. I've already been talking to you for 7 minutes, so let's do this quickly. Reiki is the first form that I totally and highly recommend. It's a Japanese energy healing form that uses a practitioner's hands to channel life energy, the universal life energy, into the client's body. And I'm sorry I used my hands, made my camera go back and forth. Reiki, usually, it's pretty widely accepted these days, and it's usually said to promote healing on the physical, emotional, and spiritual level. Part of the Reiki practitioner's job is to find blockages in the body where the energy may not be flowing, and clear out those blockages and get rid of them. And they can also be in that process. They can also sense if there's been an attachment and help you to get rid of that way. Outside of the paranormal, it can help you with relaxing the body, the mind, with the flow of energy. It can reduce muscle tension, improve your sleep quality, and the one that I use it for is reduce anxiety and stress levels. Unfortunately, I chose 3 years ago to move to this little itty bitty teeny weeny town in the middle of nowhere. And so far, I haven't found a Reiki technician. Maybe there is one. I just haven't met them yet. So the second one that I use, and I love this one, so I highly recommend this one, is Qigong. Qigong is a Chinese practice that combines movement, meditation, and breathing exercises all into one massive exercise, which cultivates balance of the body's energy. So then the body's energy is called qi in Chinese. Yeah, qi. Make sure I was saying that right. So Qigong, outside of the paranormal, is known for encouraging overall health and well-being. It reduces stress, and interestingly enough, it also boosts the immune system. So it's a lot easier to get rid of the creepy crawlies that can give you the cold or the flu. I use Qigong for myself because I'm a busy woman. I've got too much going on in my life as it is. I'm trying to start a business. I've got I've got elderly parents that I'm taking care of, and I've got a sister who isn't well. Um, I've also got to work, I'm busy. So any time that I can kill three birds with one stone, I'm on it. I'm on it like white on rice. So, and Qigong, one of the nice things about it outside of the paranormal again, is that it does reduce, and this has been scientifically proven, it does reduce the stress hormones of cortisol and adrenaline, and it can increase the levels of the relaxation hormone oxytocin. So good stuff on that. Do it. I highly recommend it. Feels good too. And then the last one that I'm going to talk about is crystal healing. Controversial, I know, but if you know me, and you may not, but if you do know me, you know that I like to push buttons. So there's always going to be something controversial in my episodes. Just the way I am. It's one of my favorites is crystal healing. It's a holistic practice that uses the healing properties of crystals and gemstones, depending on your money level, financial level, to promote physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Crystals have all kinds of different healing energetic properties, and they can be used in a variety of ways. You can use them really easily. I mean, I know people who wear them as necklaces, earrings, rings, whatever, jewelry. I know people who carry them in their purses or in their pockets, their backpacks. I also know that I have crystals in my purse. If you could see my room, there's crystals all over the bedroom. Right there is a crystal. You can't really see it though. So I have them everywhere in my house. One woman I know even puts them in her shower so that when she's cleaning herself off, she's also cleaning her energy. So there are a couple of specific ones that I like to use for me specifically, especially outside of the paranormal, is amethyst. Not just because it's purple and that's my favorite color, but amethyst has calming and relaxing properties to it. And they act as a lens. So if there's calming and relaxing energy in the air, it can focus that and make it a little bit stronger. And the other one that I like to use is another pretty stone, and it goes really well with amethyst, is rose quartz. So rose quartz is really good for stress relieving properties. Me, I'm about anything that's going to help relieve some of my stress and some of my anxiety, even some of my PTSD if possible. So crystals can also be placed on the body for healing. I know this is going to sound crazy. Maybe I'm exposing too much of myself, but I can lay on that bed, place some crystals on my body, and then go into a meditative state and feel so relaxed and so comforted that I don't ever want to leave that space. So however it works for you, do it. So why would you want to have all of this in the paranormal? Some of that's obvious, right? I mean, sorry, I have to move. It's going to mess with my camera. I apologize. Anyway, so why is this? We want to reduce our fear and anxiety in the paranormal, as well as outside of the paranormal, which is why I've chosen things that are really good outside of the paranormal as well as within the paranormal. So when we're exposed to negative energies or even negative entities, it could cause major feelings of fear and anxiety. So when we balance our energy, we can reduce those feelings a lot, actually, quite a bit. And of course, once we reduce those feelings, we can feel like we're more in control, which then becomes another balm to our stressors. We also want to increase our protection. Anytime that we go into any kind of paranormal investigation, whether it's known to be evil or not, we want to protect ourselves. You just don't know. And even the good ghosts can follow you home, and you don't want that either. So when your energy is balanced, we can protect ourselves a lot better from the negative entities or negative energy that's in the place. And then by balance, and then this, let me try that again. This is because our energy is often stronger and more resilient when it's balanced. So when I'm talking about energy, I'm going to take a minute to describe this because I think this is important. When we're talking about energy, it's an electromagnetic field that we all have, and even the ghosts have it. We can detect it on electromagnetic detection equipment. I don't even remember what it's called, EMF detectors, I guess. And the way you want to think about healing, about these energies that's around the frequency around you, is like an aura, but it's not this little tiny aura that just outlines your body. The electromagnetic field that's around you can extend up to 10 feet, from 4 to 10 feet from your body. So use that, make sure that's clean, because that's what's going to hit these energies first, and then they can come in from there. So you want to make sure that stays clean, that stays imbalanced, and that you can use that as an effective shield against these things. I know people who really get into the whole aura thing, and it's part of their protection system. So this can be taken very seriously. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Anyway, so if you keep your energy clean and your electromagnetic field balanced, you can improve the conversation you have or communication you have with the spirits. I suppose even conversation if you want it. And this is because your energy field will be more aligned with the energy field of the ghost or spirit that you're dealing with, or ghosts and spirits that you're dealing with. The EMF, electromagnetic field, is no joke. It's a real thing. We all have it. Use it. But it's important to note that balancing your energy is not a full guarantee that you are completely protective from these negative energies or entities. But it can be a really helpful tool for managing your energy and protecting yourself from the paranormal. So no, it's not a panacea. It's not an all fix or a cure all, but you don't want to go anywhere without it. You really want to keep your energy clean. So I have a couple of examples that from history when these techniques were used. Now, as you all know, I am kind of an Ed and Lorraine Warren fan, just a little bit. I do believe that, controversial though they may have been and are even still, they really provided an awful lot to the paranormal community. So we have to take off our hats to them in some manner, because they did move the whole paranormal community along a little bit. So the first one that I'm going to talk about that involves them is the Annabelle doll. Creepy, just thinking about it, for me anyway. Annabelle was just a Raggedy Ann doll that was said to be possessed by a demon. I love Raggedy Ann. I have a Raggedy Ann in that closet. And as soon as I get my room straightened up, I'm going to have her out. I haven't quite gotten the nerve to call her Annabelle yet. I keep thinking about it because I think it'd be fun, but I haven't quite done it yet. So anyway, it originally belonged to a young woman named Donna, who got it in 1970. I think she was college age, if I remember right. I mean, maybe she was high school, but I have a memory that she lived on her own, or she had some roommates. So I think she was college aged. I could be wrong on that. So she got the doll, and things started happening around this doll that were unexplainable. The doll started moving around on its own. And I don't mean like we thought we left it in the bedroom 3 hours later, we find it in the living room, but we don't remember putting it there, although it's obvious that we did put it there at some point. She was actually able to see it moving. She saw it moving along. She felt it and saw it walking with her. It was moving of its own volition, and that was scary. That would be scary to anybody. It made really strange noises at all hours of the day and night, scaring the living daylights out of this poor woman, Donna. And the last straw, the final straw in that was it left threatening messages on Donna's diary. I'd hate that. Just the idea of that gives me the creeps. So Donna called Ed and Lorraine, who did their due diligence in their investigation. And guess what? The doll was possessed of some sort of demon. Not wanting to deal with it anymore, Donna, of course, gave the doll to Ed Warren. And because he believed it was possessed, he did try to use Reiki energy to clear it. He tried prayer. He tried probably a number of other religious things. I'm not sure that you can exorcise a doll, so I don't think he exorcised the doll, but I'm sure he prayed over it and did his fair share of religious things, because as I've said before, Ed and Lorraine were strongly Catholic. So anyway, it didn't work, is the bottom line. The Reiki didn't work. So Ed placed the doll in a glass case, locked it up, and probably threw away the key, put it in his museum, and that's where it is even now. And hopefully it stays there for a long time. The Annabelle doll is the one that gives me the creeps. So, and then there's Amityville Horror, and I feel for the family. I really do. My heart goes out to them all the time. But I don't feel as strongly about it as I did about the Annabelle doll. So in the 70s, again, if you need a timeline, last week or the week before, I talked about the Enfield poltergeist case, and Amityville Horror is where Ed and Lorraine went after the Enfield poltergeist case. So in 1970s, again, the Lutz family moved into a house in Amityville, New York, that had been the site of this horrific murder. Horrific. I mean, really bad. And the family began to experience strange phenomena and disturbing occurrences shortly thereafter. Probably immediately, but they may have dismissed it. So they were hearing voices, they were seeing apparitions, they had objects flying of their own accord. Poltergeist activity was recorded. It was horrific for them. The movie, of course, probably made it even worse than it was, because I don't think the walls actually started to bleed. I may be wrong, I wasn't there. Whatever it was terrifying. And the Lutzes left the house after 28 days, and they were completely horrified. I mean, mortified. They were just, it was horrible for them. They were traumatized. It was traumatic for them. So in comes Ed and Lorraine Warren, the two famous paranormal investigators even back then. And they investigated, and they, in one of the movies somewhere, I want to say it's The Conjuring 2, Lorraine even says that going into that house was as close to hell as she ever wanted to get, which just that statement gives me goose flesh. So anyway, their attempts to clean the house included Reiki, that was specifically mentioned, and then other energy techniques that weren't specifically mentioned. I'm assuming that there was a lot of religious rites that went into it. Like I said, they were Catholic. They may have used some other things that we don't know about, but it is known that they used Reiki, and it failed. I don't know what happened to the Amityville Horror House. I don't even know if it's still standing. Hopefully they got rid of some of the activity there. Anyway, the last one that I'm going to talk about is The Conjuring. Another movie. The Conjuring franchise is mostly about Ed and Lorraine and their cases and what they went through, how they solved them, if they were able to solve them. And this was no different. So again, this was probably the 70s. And it involved a young family that found a really good deal on a house out in the country. It had some land to it. According to the movie, it even had a nice looking pond out in the back, nice big farmhouse that they could spread out in. And it was sold at a deal. So they were thrilled because they weren't rich. They weren't a rich family. So it was nice to know that they found something they could afford and they could move into right away. Strange things started happening to the mother of the family pretty quickly. She came through with bruises. She would speak in voices that weren't hers. She knew other languages that weren't hers. And in the end, it wound up being a full-blown possession. It also affected one of her children, who started sleepwalking and would start banging her head on a specific wardrobe, and turned out that that was also a site of some pretty intense paranormal incidences that were not fun. So very unfun. And now in this case, it has been mentioned in several of the articles that I read, although not in the movie, but in several of the articles that I read, that they did use Reiki, Qigong, and crystal healing to help the family cleanse the house of that negative energy and try to get rid of the demon inside of the mother. Didn't work. Well, some of it did, not completely. They still had to, if I remember right, they exorcised the mother, which was a big deal back then, because first you needed papal dispensation to perform the exorcism rite. You also were supposed to be a priest, and obviously Ed Warren was not a priest. He was a married demonologist, So but his thought was that we are trying to save a soul, and for most people, a soul is very eternal. And if you lose that soul, everything just kind of collapses around that energy. There's no even possibility there anymore. So he wanted to make sure that her soul was intact in this, and if he could do it. So he did what he could. It worked. It was actually one of the ones that they did that worked, that they were successful at. They got rid of the demon from the mother. She was healing at the end of the movie. She was healing throughout the rest of her life. Probably had a lot of thinking and changes in her own philosophies to go through, but she managed. And this case ended happily, satisfyingly too. It's nice to know that the good can overpower sometimes. So these were pretty intense cases that the Warrens dealt with. Unfortunately, they had a strong marriage and a strong faith system, and very strong boundaries around their life so that they could live it comfortably. But there's always going to be psychological challenges in any time there are intense paranormal phenomena going on around you. And we have to be aware of those and deal with them as they come up. So we deal with a lot of fear and anxiety. That's just part of being in the paranormal. People are afraid of the paranormal still. You can see that in the TV shows. They're terrified of this stuff, and they're calling in desperation to have these investigators come out and help them. So we deal with that a lot, and it's best to deal with that as it comes up. You can do it through therapy, you can do it through energy work, you can do it through journaling. Whatever you do to process your fear and anxiety, do it. that's the time to do it. We also deal with stress and burnout. We're exhausted. Paranormalists are exhausted people. Most of us work during the day. Not all of us are wealthy. And if we do have to work during the day, we don't get a whole lot of time to relax after work to go and do a paranormal investigation. So we're exhausted when we get there, which lowers our resistance. And we work long hours. You know, it takes a while to put together an investigation and to conduct it. And we're not always working in the safest of conditions. You know, some of these places are pretty run down. Various states of disrepair or even decay. And I know one place that I just read about was deeply haunted, but it was also actively being cleared of asbestos, even as the taping was going on for this documentary. Yeah, not good stuff to deal with, not healthy all the time. So you have to deal with that, and we're so tired. We're so tired, and it gets so stressful. You know, we have so much pressure on us. And then we go through self-doubt like you wouldn't believe. We're met with a lot of skepticism. It's part of our stress. Investigators can deal with self-doubt, and they may question their place in the world and whether their experiences are real or whether they're just imagining things. So, and then there's harassment and ridicule. Now, this doesn't happen often. At least we don't hear about it, but I do know paranormal investigators who get harassed, get threatened, their reputations go through the mud, you know, can be really hurtful and demoralizing. So however you can deal with those kind of things, they're still negative energies. It's just that we don't consider them paranormal. That's when you should deal with them, is when they come up. And use the techniques that I described, use your own techniques, use a combination therein, whatever you need to do. Please, I have to emphasize that when you're on an investigation and you're dealing with the paranormal, you have to stay calm and you have to stay centered, or things can go downhill really fast. So integrating the energy. I'm almost done, you guys. Thanks for bearing with me. I hope it was a little bit interesting. But anyway, so integrating it, how do we deal with that? How do we put this together when we're going and preparing for a case? So I do it in stages. I do it a couple days before. I do it the day of. I do it as I'm getting out of my car, getting ready to go into the location. I do it while I'm in there. You know, I'm always trying to protect myself in any way that I can, because I don't want this stuff coming home with me. I have enough problems. I don't want to do that. So a couple days before, I'll go through my whole, you know, I'll get a Reiki session. I will ramp up my Qigong. I'll start in on my meditation and visualization. I'll make sure that my crystals are all cleaned and charged, and that they're accessible. Oh, here, I have one right here. And I will do what I can to keep my electromagnetic frequency very clean. Field, I should say, my electromagnetic field clean. For me, it just is an assurance. It makes sure that I cannot be latched onto as easily. When I get to the investigation, before I even get out of the car or the bus or whatever I'm in to get there, I will go back into a meditation. I will ground myself. I will shield up myself. I will use all of my techniques that I've got. I will even pray. I do pray. And this is a big one, and I think it's missed a lot, but set your intention. Set really clear intentions before you go into the building, because You know, even if it's just I'm going to approach everything that comes to me with an open mind. At least that way you have kind of a pathway through it all. It can be more complicated if you want it to be. I tend to believe in simplicity. So, once I get into the building and I'm helping to set up the equipment, we're determining what locations of the building we're going to be in. That's also what I'm doing. I am calling on prayer. I'm using crystal work. I'm visualizing. I'm constantly talking. You know, I don't want to, my biggest thing is I don't want to come home with an attachment. So I have no problems with placing the crystals around the building. I don't have a problem with putting religious artifacts up. I don't have a problem with chanting, with praying, with whatever it is I need to do to keep it clean. And what I think is interesting is that while I consider this a requirement for my own investigations when I'm on them, I don't see a whole lot of investigators doing this. They just go in, they set up their equipment, and then they start trying to find ways to gather data. I can't imagine doing any kind of investigation without these steps because, again, you don't want any of this going home with you. It's not comfortable. It feels creepy. It feels icky. So I don't know why they would miss it. That's their problem. It's not something that I can do anything about. I highly recommend you go through it, even if and they're not going to make fun of you. I mean, I haven't met a paranormal team that'll make fun of you for doing it. But if you're afraid of that, who cares? Do it anyway. You're protecting yourself. So stay grounded. Always stay grounded all through the investigation. If you have to take breaks to go out and get yourself grounded, do it. Arrange it. Make sure you communicate it, but go ahead and make sure you do it. And the last thing I want to tell you is please, please, please listen to your intuition or your gut feelings, whichever you want to call them. They're major help in investigations. And if something is telling you that this house is not someplace you should be in, then maybe you should listen to it and stay home and watch a movie, clean your bedroom, read a book. I don't care what you do when you get home, whatever it is you want to do, take the night off because you don't want to have something come home and you don't want a bad experience either. So try to listen to your intuition and your gut. And if it tells you stay away from something, likewise, if it says go into that room, just see what happens when you go in there. Probably going to find some activity that can help you in your efforts. So do that. Anyway, so that's the show this week. Take care of yourself, keep your energy clean, and I will be curious to see what I whip up for next week because all through this, I've been trying to figure out what I'm going to do next week, and I always pull it off. So hopefully you guys liked it, got something out of it. Like, share, subscribe, comment, tell me what I'm doing wrong, tell me what I'm doing right. Be nice about it. But, I want it to be interactive. And be safe out there. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And if you have any ideas, let me know what they are, because I want to do them. So, bye. Sorry about the quality of the show. See you later.